Hi crafty friends! So this is my index card number 5 for the Index Card a Day challenge on Instagram, and I would like to share my process with this card with you. So for this one I used this piece of a junk envelope. I had this in my stash because I tried out some collaging things and some stuff with watercolors on this piece. Originally it was planned for another project, but yeah, you know that. Sometimes you have leftovers, and I thought it would be a nice idea to have some special index card, not this normal one layered thing, but this thing with this window and this flap that seemed a little bit interesting to me. So I tried this with this unusual format of the card. So the first thing I did was I gessoed my first layer there, and I had something in my mind that I wanted to do because I saw a recent post of Helen Colebrook. Hopefully I say her name right, so if not, sorry Helen. She has a really incredible Instagram channel where she shows her traveler's notebook pages and also her process with these pages. And I was really inspired by this recent post where she had painted some watercolor grass or something like leaves or that stuff, and on top there were some golden botanicals, and that looked so nice that I thought, okay, perhaps I can include this here into my own card. And for that I watered down some brush colors because I hadn't my normal watercolors on hand when I recorded this video and made this card, but that worked really well, even if I didn't expect that. So I never did that before, to use these brush colors as normal watercolors, but when you mix them you get a really nice effect. And as you could see, I used also the brown brush color, and that makes the other colors not such extreme. So these greens and yellows are really extreme and bright colors, but I wanted it a little bit muted down, and so I mixed it with this brown, and that worked really well. In the next step I took some white gesso, and I wanted this as something like a background. And I know that the brush colors will be reactivated when I put gesso on top. So I tried to get this effect that these green things are in the background. When I dried this, my washi tape came out really great. So I thought, okay, that could be a really cool layering effect in the end. You will see in a few minutes what was left over in the end of this. So I had some new stamps, and that was the first thing where I said, okay, never do this again. Never try new stamps where you don't know the quality of them on a piece that you want to show to the world. So these stamps, I think, originally are made for bullet journaling, so perhaps it's not a good idea to try to put them onto this little bit wavy background. And yeah, I thought, okay, that can't work. But then I found the stars there, and that worked a little bit better. I have put them to my glue stick cap because I hadn't an acrylic block or something like that on hand. That worked really well, but yeah, the stamp was not that clear that I expected it. But I thought, okay, it should be the background for this, and as you will see later, the whole thing changed into another direction that I couldn't expect in this stadium. But as I said in one of my last videos, I decided for myself that I want to share every process of these cards that I recorded. And I turn on my camera and I will post or I will publish every process of these cards, even if it works not in the way I planned it. Because as I said in one of my other videos, I would like to encourage you to try new things, to try things that you never did before. And yeah, as you can see, even if this obviously didn't came out like I planned, because that's no grass anymore, you can perhaps find some inspiration for yourself. So even if you have an inspiration from another person, so like I had from Helen, you can do your own thing with it. And I think, the starting point is the most important thing about this whole stuff. In this next step, I thought, okay, my grass is not looking like Helen's grass, but don't think about that, and try to get this golden botanicals to the page. And that worked really well, because I had this golden color that is really thick. And as you can see, I tried to get this leaves a little bit three-dimensional, and that worked really well. And I know that this color dries really hard. It takes a time, but it's something like, a really sturdy and hard thing in the end. I heat gunned this to speed up this process a little bit, and I didn't know that before, that this is possible. This whole thing stayed in place like it was, so I was really surprised about this color. I thought perhaps it could smear around or something like that, but it stayed there, so obviously that's possible. And then I came to the crazy idea to paint some flowers around these circles, so that these circles from the washi tape I sticked in the beginning are the middle points of these flowers. Until now I thought, okay, that can work. But then I thought, okay, I used a water-soluble black pen. Why not trying to add the brush colors into this petals of the flower, and make this a little bit like a loose watercolor, and let this water-soluble black pen flow around a little bit. So when I did the first flower, I already knew that I have made the mistake that I did this after I did this golden botanicals. So the better way would be to do this first and then put the golden leaves on top. But in this process, I was totally intuitive, and I didn't thought about my single steps so much as I would do it normally. And I think that's the point. So I went on with this little flowers there, and I decided that I want to have them, they have lost some of their petals, so that they are not completely visible as round flowers with completely the complete amount of petals all around this circle. And as you can see with this washi circles, that isn't possible to paint a whole flower. So I said to me, okay, do it in this really abstract way and try to go on with this abstract thing. And when I added the brush colors, I thought, okay, that can work really well, because in the wet stadium of these colors, they look really brilliant. They are really intensive. And when you dry them, so on the left side, you can already see what happens with the brush colors when they dry. They get really muted down. I don't know if I perhaps used too much water. If I perhaps try that again, I will use more of the brush pigments. Perhaps that could solve this problem. But here you can see me adding more and more color. So I waited a little bit in between. I went from flower to flower and tried to get more color to this piece, because I know when I dry this, it will be muted down a lot. To get a little context with this top part of this junk envelope index card thing, I splattered some of the splashes to the top as well, and here you can see the dried result. It looks not bad, but of course it's not the same thing as before. So these bright colors that gave me this contrast to this green grass, they were gone totally. And then I came to the idea, perhaps I can make this watercolor effect a little bit more extreme. And I have to say, I also did this only with normal watercolors, that I added salt to the wet color. So I tried to put some of the colors here on top, so the same as I used before, and then I added some salt. Of course, this wouldn't make the colors more intensive or something like that. So I said goodbye to this thought that this flowers can stand out and can be really bright. So I thought, okay, let's leave them muted like they are before I destroy everything. Then I went in with my Stabilo All pen, this water-soluble black pen, and I did some lines, some shadings and that stuff to bring a little bit more contrast with this black, and I love this shading. So yeah, don't know if that makes sense, but I love to go around, especially with flowers or botanical stuff, and blend this into the background. So with this Stabilo All pen, that's a really easy job. You can blend that with water, or you could even do that with your fingers. Of course not in this case, because the rest of this color and the salt thing was wet, and I couldn't go in there with my finger. As you can see, the water from my water brush goes a little bit into the flower, but I didn't care about that. I thought, okay, let's do a new effect. Don't know what will happen here when the salt is dry and the whole stuff, but yeah, I went on with my intuitive thing, and I thought, okay, let's see. So now it's dry, and this salt left a really filigrane effect to my brush colors. I was really surprised about that. So now I decided to seal this whole thing with an alcohol sealer, even if I knew that my stars will go away, because for the stars I used StazOn permanent ink, and when you spray that with alcohol, of course that will be removed. Normally the StazOn ink stays on every surface, even on plastic, glass and that stuff, but yeah, when you spray alcohol it disappears. But I thought, okay, I can stamp over that later, but I wanted to go into these flowers with a little bit more details and with this black pen, and I thought it's better to seal this whole stuff so that I can go over it with my black pen. So please don't be confused that I used different black pens here. That's only because my pens went out of ink in this recording process of the video. I don't know why. That was one of these days where I thought, okay, what's going on here? I tried to get the rest of this ink out of them, but that was not possible, and that's the reason why I'm using I think 3 different black pens here in this video. Normally this will work really well, please believe me. I did that several times, seal with an alcohol sealer and then go over it with a permanent black pen. That would be absolutely no problem, but yeah, in this case, really strange. For the whole set of my 61 index cards for this challenge, I made a little rule for myself. So I wanted to include this white dots into every card. Not in the same way in every card, but I want to have this white dots, yeah, as an element of every card. So in this case, I decided to do this dot frame around the card, as I did it on few of my previous cards. And then I thought, okay, a little bit too much white around and too less white in the middle, so I decided to make some light points and lines to the flowers. And yeah, that was the point where I thought, okay, it can be something where I can say I can be satisfied with that. I was not so happy about this because, yeah, originally I thought it would turn out totally different as it became now, but yeah. I said I share my process, and so here it is. And then I went back here with my stars and tried to get them back to the places that they were before. On this alcohol sealer I couldn't stamp such good, as you can see there on the other side where the sealer is not. There it worked much better. And then I tried to stamp to this plastic foil as well, because StazOn says stays on ink, stays on plastic as well. So I wanted to try that, but that was too wavy, this plastic, that it gets a clear result. But I thought a little bit of a dimension is there as well when you look through this little window. And I was something like nearly happy with it. Then I repaired some of the scraps on the front side. When I collaged this envelope the other day, I used a water-soluble glue stick. I thought, okay, you are a little bit an idiot, because you want to spray water. Why are you using a water-soluble glue stick? But of course you can repair these things very easy by adding a little bit more glue, and then that problem is solved. In the end, I decided to distress the edges a little bit. I wanted this white thing there around this purple flowers, a little bit more vintage, and I thought that would look a little bit more harmonical when it's distressed, and when this whole thing gets a little bit something of a frame. After I've added some white splashes with my paintbrush, my camera stopped recording for some reason. Sorry. Let me just tell you what I did in the next step. I took a really filigrane stencil and stenciled with this vintage photo distress ink over it. So you will see that in a second in the inside. Like this it looks from the outside. I clipped it with this little clip thing, and this is the finished inside now. So in this point I was really happy with it, and I thought, okay, it's something different than we see normally, and I thought, okay, this is one card of my collection now. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, give me a thumbs up, whatever you would like to do. I would be really happy about every support, and hopefully we will see you the next time. Until then, I wish you a really crafty, happy time. Stay safe, and bye bye.